I believe that we've seen the augmentation system for the Sage in full already. The Sage is building up a ton of Aether and then just slams the gas and absolutely unleashes hell by overwhelming the target with that surplus buildup of Aether. Hey guys, with the release of the benchmark trailer, we finally, in my opinion, have enough information at this point that we can start to form a baseline understanding of the Sage and Endwalker. And that's not just clickbait or bluffing. We're starting to see some of the core mechanics kind of unfold when we look at these skills in depth. There's going to be a lot of information to cover here, and so if you want to zip to a particular section, I have delivered the timestamps to you, and so you can zip ahead to anything that you particularly want to see. You can say, as someone who loves barrier healers and the proactive gameplay style that brings, loves bringing the pain as a healer, and loves big badass guns, let alone 4 of them, to say the absolute least, I am hyped about the Sage, and I know a lot of other people are. There's no denying that the Sage is extremely flavorful, and as for the Sage's inspiration, I did a theory video a few months ago where I speculate that it was heavily tied to the Gundam universe, with various bits being controlled in parallel by a user. However, I'm going to leave the remainder of that speculation to that video in particular as to not bloat this one, so check that out if this is interesting. Basic information that we know about the Sage is that Sage is going to be of the healer role and use 4 floating gun-like weapons called nulets. The Sage is primarily going to be a proactive healer that is going to use barriers to mitigate off damage before it hits the party. Core feature of the Sage that was stated very clearly during the Endwalker showcase on the slide reveal was that they are able to temporarily augment their own abilities. I dive into my thoughts about that. We have already seen the augmentation system firsthand now with all this collective sum of knowledge, and I'm going to go over that later in this video, but I believe that we have already seen the augmentation system now. In a completely different interview, we learned of a second core mechanic that they use healing skills as a Sage, and that's going to slowly build up an Aether gauge. That is unfortunately as much as we really know at this point, but with any builder gauge, there ultimately will be some kind of powerful spender to make it really worth our time to build up. I'm thinking something akin to White Mage's Flatulence Misery Blood Lily system. Likely that these two systems in tandem are going to form the core underlying gameplay of the Sage. We've already seen this 2-mechanic system before in other jobs such as the Machinist that builds up Heat Gauge and Energy Gauge separately. The Energy Gauge is going to be used to summon Bob that storms the field and smashes enemies. The Heat Gauge, however, can be spent to augment how the Machinist plays. Sounds familiar to augmenting abilities, and that's opening the unique Heat Blast skill that reduces the cooldown of 2 core off-global cooldown abilities, allowing them to be spammed. Of course, an obvious interplay is that you could augment your abilities using the built-up Aether gauge, so that would basically be only the Machinist Heat gauge. But I already have a theory that I think it might be a little bit more direct than that. One detail that I do want to talk about before we move on is that the Sage's default casting animation looks like this. And that, yeah, of course, we're going to see some deviation as we do in many other classes with the casting animations, but the nulets, when you're doing a default cast, is going to form a square around the Sage and then have that barrel aimed upwards. Only speaking, unless it's very overtly obvious, I would say that this is going to mean that if we don't see this animation, it's likely going to be instant cast. Let's go over all the Sage skills that we've seen so far in the footage, the actual gameplay. We've seen a single target heal, and from the visual and cast time, it's likely a Cure 1 or Physic equivalent. We've seen a single target magical damage ability that is likely a spammed attack, which makes sense with all the other healers that we've seen so far. Take for instance White Mage, Ast, and Scholar. Glare on White Mage's cast time. Ast, while it does have a reduced cast time, it does still have a cast time, and then Broil for Scholar also has a cast time. Following the theory of the augmentation system, it could potentially have some kind of special debuff to it. It could be like a healer equivalent to like a trick attack or something like that, but right now I'm personally placing my bets on this being a default attack with no augmentations. Obviously, when we talk about the augmentation system, it makes you wonder, does the augmentation system perhaps make this like instant cast? And so right now we're just not seeing an augmented version of this basic spammable attack. We don't really know at this point, but my bet is that this is the basic spammable. We can see that the Sage is using an instant cast barrier skill on a single target. This is likely a Divine Benison, or probably more likely a Nocturnal Astrologian aspected Benefic shield. What is very neat is if you look very carefully at the footage and listen very carefully, you can hear before the shield, just before the shield is deployed, there's going to be a small heal effect on the target and a small little heal chime, and it's making the shield then after. And so that really is going to be very similar to Scholar's Adlo or Aspected Benefic in Noct Ast stance. And so instantly this is like, okay, this is like a Nocturnal Astrologian Aspected Benefic because of that heal with the barrier component. Next up, we can see that the Sage is doing an instant cast area of effect ability that throws the nulets up into the air, and then they bathe the field in a ridiculous amount of like effects. I don't know how else to say it. To me, from the obscene size of the AoE, this reminds me a lot of White Mage's S size, which is also pretty large. Size is probably a little larger than this, actually. Heaven knows I pulled enough accidentally with it, but to me this is definitely giving me ass size vibes. You can see from the benchmark trailer that the Sage used an area of effect heal that is literally the exact same single target heal effect that we saw before, but it's going to be spread across multiple targets. I strongly believe that this is going to be the Sage's equivalent to Medica 1 from the White Mage or Helios from the Astrologian. The benchmark trailer in a few different locations, we can see the Sage is using an instant cast ability that has their Nulith spinning around a target, firing on alongside the target, and it's going to have a lot of purple explosions. This ability might be some kind of powerful single target finisher or basic area of effect attack. My current bet, personally, is that it's just based on its radius. It reminds me a lot of Art of War from Scholar or Holy from White Mage, and so I do think that this is some kind of spammable AoE attack. Actually, when you're thinking about the Nulith weapon, it's like you have 4 PewPew blasters spinning around a target, and it seems logical that they'd spin and attack from all angles to really make an AoE. What is interesting to note is that this is the in-game equivalent of the CGI Endwalker trailer's Sage skill. I do want to note right here, right now, that this is instantly something that I want to contrast against the previous AoE that we saw, but more on that in the next section. In the Endwalker benchmark trailer, we saw the Sage get access to some kind of extremely powerful barrier that is seen in the benchmark trailer, mitigating literally the Reaper limit break. During the entire trailer, we can see each of the healers getting some kind of single target buff placed on a tank. This has made me genuinely think that this isn't just some augmented version of the shield, but instead a distinct skill. I actually feel doubly that way because the square shield that we're seeing right now versus the previous cylinder shape is extremely different, and current speculation is that this might be some kind of healer accessible applied mitigation, similar to how ranged DPS in the past could use the ability Palisade to buff a single target to take reduced damage for a set period of time. But it could also just be another shield. But current speculation to me is that this is like Palisade for healers, which is more than welcome. I want to talk about the augmentation system and the Sage's primary mechanics now that we've reviewed the skills shown so far. For me, the Sage's spinning Nulith potential AoE ability, I said something was up. The animation, the effect, or rather the assumed effect of area of effect damage was flat out too similar to me. Alphano is also holding his hands up, and the Nuliths are firing off from him in nearly the exact same pattern they are from the trailer. The animation for the cast can also be seen clearly at 5 minutes 15 seconds in the benchmark trailer, as well as at 5 minutes 20 seconds in the benchmark. Then we're going to get another clear visual. Seemingly the exact same effect of raining hell down on a particular area. By default, the area of effect ability is spinning with purple orbs. Like I said before, it's just like, what are you going to do when you have like spinning PewPews? It's just like, they're going to probably spin PewPew around. But the augmented version is the entire field being bathed in damage, and this also makes a lot of sense when you think of the systems that the Sage builds up Aether through healing. And so you have a huge dump, a huge storage of Aether. And now, honestly, with that being said, I believe that we have seen the augmentation system in full already. Maybe not all of the builders, maybe not all of the spenders, but at least this is definitely what it's going to be about. The Sage builds up Aether, and then it just slams the gas down and absolutely unleashes hell by overwhelming the target with a surplus buildup of Aether. Now, obviously, closing off the video, we obviously have a lot more to see about the Sage, and I do not think that we've even seen half of what the Sage has to offer, and I'm really looking forward to see what is going to come out next. I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled out for further Sage information. However, I can say beyond any shadow of a doubt, I am very interested in the Sage for Endwalker, and I do look forward to maining it alongside my current mains.